Hey Brainiacs, thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of My Humble Opinion. I am Cam's Brain, and I appreciate you guys following along with me this week. If you guys are new here, we've been talking about a book called The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, and what we do every Sunday at 8 p.m. is break down a law of power and figure out how it can help us financially, spiritually, physically, so on and so forth. More particularly in a business, a relationship, and in your spiritual relationship with whatever higher power you believe in. So today is no exception. We'll be talking about the 19th law of power. Know who you're dealing with. Do not offend the wrong person. I think this is pretty self-explanatory. I kind of always start this podcast off by saying, in this particular series, reading the 48 Laws of Power, some people think that it's a book of manipulation. Personally, I don't think it is, but at the same time, I still think it's very important for you to read this and be aware of what other people would use in order to manipulate you. So at the end of the day, whether it's a good book, whether it's a bad book, the most important thing is it's a very, very important book because, like I said, it's a very popular thing, a very popular book that people use in order to navigate life. And I necessarily, like I said earlier, don't think that this particular law of power is a manipulative law of power. I think it's very apparent. Be careful what you say to certain people and how you do certain things, because at the end of the day, you don't necessarily know specifically all the time who you're talking to and who you're dealing with. So in business, I think this is very important as it relates to who you're going to be selling your product to. At the end of the day, you have to find something that's going to appeal to the masses. You have to find something that's going to appeal to your audience. If you're not aware of what your audience wants, then you're going to find yourself in a situation where it's going to take a very long time for you to be lucrative for whatever it is you're trying to do. Now, in a spiritual sense, I think it's very important to know who you're talking to and that you're talking to your higher power correctly. When I was younger, I found that I used to ask for a lot of things, and I didn't necessarily ask for the wisdom, the knowledge, and the patience to get the things that I was asking for. So if I give you a great example, you can ask God for a car, or you can ask God or your higher power for the wisdom to know how to make the money in order to not only get the vehicle, but be able to take care of your car insurance, be able to take care of maintenance on that vehicle, so on and so forth. So I think that parable of knowing who you're dealing with and not offending the person or the people you're dealing with or the higher power that you believe in speaks volumes in how you decide to function throughout your everyday life, how you decide to pray, how you decide to meditate, so on and so forth. You have to be strategic in the things that you ask. You have to be very deliberate and detailed in the things that you ask for. That way, not only are you proving to yourself that you're growing as an individual, it shows that you have the ability to respect the process that goes in to what it takes to get to where you want to be in the end. And that's the most important piece. If you just want a Lamborghini, if you just want a house, you just want a car, you just want a wife, husband, so on and so forth, but you're not praying for all the things that is going to take for you to get to that point, then that's the problem. So being very careful on how you do that and using this parable in that sense is very important. Same way in a relationship. Knowing who you're dealing with and being careful not to offend people. If you find yourself in a new friendship, you find yourself in a new relationship, you want to make sure that you're very, very respectful. You're very, very attentive to what the person that you are associating yourself with feels comfortable with and what they like. At the end of the day, everybody's walk in life is different. So I learned for myself, when I go into a relationship, whether it's a friendship or a business relationship or a personal relationship, I have to make sure that I set aside my past experiences that may affected me negatively or even positively, and not inflict my outcome or my ideas of how somebody should see something when I'm meeting a new person, because my experience can be completely different from someone else's experience. What I think somebody should be appreciative of, they may not be appreciative of because they have a bad taste in their mouth from what somebody else once did to them. So I think it's very important when you're getting into any type of relationship to know who you're dealing with, have those conversations with the significant other, have those conversations with your friends, your meet groups or whatever you're doing, and have a time, at least I know for myself, I have a time where I don't share a whole heap about myself, and I listen a lot to other people's problems, sometimes their experiences, what they've gone through, so on and so forth. Not necessarily to judge them or figure out how to deal with them, but just to understand them. One thing I found in life, the older I've gotten, some people just want to be heard. You don't necessarily have to be a friend that's going to solve a problem. You don't necessarily have to be a spouse that's going to solve a problem. A lot of times people just want you to listen. So the more and more you listen, the more and more you can come at people correctly. And you can use this parable to remember, hey, I have to be able to make sure I'm not offending this person when I'm speaking. I have to make sure that this person feels comfortable with me when they're in my presence. That's a big thing, especially in a relationship with a significant other. You want your significant other to feel comfortable with you, right? You want to know that they feel like talking to you or being around you is a safe space. So yeah, at the end of the day, I think this law of power is very significant in navigating life. I think it's very significant in knowing who you are as an individual and knowing how you will handle things as an individual when you find yourself in certain instances, whether it be in business, whether it be in a spiritual sense, or whether it be in a relationship. I think the one time when I had to be careful about knowing who I was dealing with, I think I go through that on an everyday experience. Like even when I'm walking up and down the street, especially if I'm close to my job or if I'm close to my office or even close to my house, and I come across somebody that may say something mean to me, or I may want to say something mean too, not in a derogatory way, but I have to be careful on how I project myself to that person, because they can be a neighbor, they can be a church member, a shareholder, whatever. So I find myself using this law of power really every day in everything that I can do, because I'm a representation of so many different things. Outside of working, outside of being on social media, I'm a representation, more importantly and most importantly, of my family and my higher power. So every day that I do everything, I'm always making sure that I'm being careful of who I'm dealing with and that I'm not offending somebody, because at the end of the day, again, I'm a representation of a lot of different things. But I want you guys to let me know how you feel. Make sure y'all comment down below and we get involved. You let me know if you agree with what I said or if you disagree with what I said. Leave an experience down below when you realize you had to be very careful on not to offend somebody, and you had to be very, very careful of how you did things and making sure you knew who you were dealing with. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. This is my humble opinion, and I am at Cam's Brain. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I will see you next time. Peace.
Hey, all work, no pleasure.